It was one of the first warm days of the year, and it seemed like everyone was in a good mood. This year's EGX Rezzed was set in London's breezy Tobacco Dock. The yearly game event is primarily indie focused, and for the everyday gamer, it's not a press event. It doesn't have queues or loudspeakers or booth mascots, and as a result, it feels genuinely welcoming. Showcasing over 220 games across more than 500 screens, I spent a day at Rezzed mainly wandering through brick tunnels, admiring the jubilant vibe, cosplayers, and fans from all backgrounds. I did actually manage to play some games too. I got my hands on the likes of Sonic Mania, Yooka-Laylee, BBQ, Snake Pass, and Little Nightmares. However, in this video, I want to talk about 4 specific games that I think were enhanced greatly by Rezzed's inclusive and accepting atmosphere. Knights and Bikes, Holy Potatoes We're in Space, Phantom Halls, and the Town of Light. I walked away from my Knights and Bikes play session stiff, but smiling. Smiling because the co-op adventure game from Foam Sword Studios is the gorgeous, heartfelt, and joyous game I hoped it'd be, and stiff because I played the 20-minute demo sat on a bike made for a 6-year-old. Oh, there goes a silly photo. But this is what Knights and Bikes is all about, awakening the dormant child within us all. Playing the current build with my knees up to my ears only accentuated my adult physicality. However, my genuine laughter and playful conversation with developer Moo was childish to say the least. Yu was previously a gameplay programmer for Little Big Planet and Ratchet & Clank Tools of Destruction, so evoking a feeling of wonder and feels targeting playfulness wasn't out of his wheelhouse when he began on Knights and Bikes. We played a short but lush cooperative demo, and I was immediately taken with how familiar the world feels. The landscapes are rich in vibrant paper art textures enhanced by these exploration animations as backgrounds literally and seamlessly fold to become foregrounds. You take control of Nessa or Demelza as you try and find out why your parents are missing. The 2 young girls' personalities animate the world around them, as Nessa is bold and pragmatic, while Demelza, the younger of the 2, provides the naivety and blind bravery. The combat is collaborative and fast-paced. Your main attack is based on your assigned equipment, so my arsenal consisted of water balloons, moves of wellies. You can unleash combination attacks against baddies by combining your special abilities, so I would drop a large water balloon in order for Moo to use his welly stomp to cause a massive area of effect attack. The baddies are anthropomorphic flowers and books, as you might expect, the kind of foes only children have. This led to a surprisingly profound discussion with Moo about the paradox of childhood fears. When we're kids, our typical fears are irrational. However, and this is something Knights and Bikes nails the tone on, kids also have much more mature and deep-set fears even if they can't articulate them. Fears like being abandoned or isolated, that no one likes you and you deserve to be alone. But friendship is your greatest weapon in and out of game, and it's a main inspiration for Knights and Bikes. Nessa and Demelza find strength in their bond as they work together to overcome meanies, compete with each other, and explore a world that should be afraid of the power of their childish intrigue. Next up was Holy Potatoes We're in Space. The second installment of the Holy Potatoes franchise from Daylight Studios is equal parts adorable and awesome. On the surface, it might look like a shallow, cutesy space game, but behind the vegetable puns and weeble stuff come spelunky art style is an incredibly nuanced and well-balanced exploration management game. The way I see it, the gameplay is split in 2. For half the game, you'll be managing your ship, your engineers, and your resources. It looks daunting at first, but it's hardly more complicated than, say, Fallout Shelter. The second half of your time will be spent exploring procedurally generated planets with your carbo-loaded crew and captains Cassie and Faye, as well as a whole range of vegetables-themed space mateys. The combat is simplistic and is really a top trump style turn-based shooter, but the planet exploration isn't about shooting and pillaging. The system works on a choose-your-own-adventure style mechanic, where encounters will ask you to make choices and live with the consequences. Because of the procedural generation, you'll rarely run into the same encounters on the same playthrough. The humour is left field and honest, and the game isn't particularly taxing, but with management games going above and beyond to make things dauntingly complicated, Holy Potatoes We're in Space is gaming the final frontier of fun. Phantom Halls was released last month through Steam Greenlight, making it one of the last indies of its pedigree to find an audience through Valve's democratic Kickstarter analogue. And though the survival comedy horror from Insidium Games is currently available in early access, I was lucky enough to get my hands on the most recent build of the game. It's a procedurally generated, side-scrolling survival game that takes stylistic cues both mechanically and narratively from pulp comedy horror movies. You pick from over a dozen unique characters, all slotting vaguely into horror movie stereotypes, and set off into a creepy mansion to complete a personal objective, find your friends, and escape unscathed. But here's the rub. Not only is ammo limited, you only have room in your inventory for 7 items at a time. You also have the odds stacked against you since every room is randomly generated, so a series of furniture enemies and hidden dangers could be behind every door. As a result of this, I didn't actually find any companions along the way. When you eventually link up with your buddies, you can control every member of your party at once. It was pitched to me as real-time worms. Cooperative play is potentially on the horizon for Phantom Halls, but since the game is still in its infancy, we might have to wait until console ports to get our hands on that. What I loved most about Phantom Halls is that it embeds itself in the flash game philosophy of playing in and for the moments. Like many Newgrounds games, the largest statistic on your post-death screen is survival time. This isn't a game about reaching the credits, it's about surviving as long as you can and having as much fun along the way. And finally, the Town of Light. The go-to phrase employed to describe LKA's The Town of Light is a different kind of horror game. While true, I don't feel that statement captures the delicacy and starkness that gives this game its edge over other horror. The game is not reliant on jump scares or ephemeral phantoms to inspire fright. It's a grueling and heart-wrenching dichotomy of the mistreatment and punishment people went through for suffering mental health issues in the past. Horror in this game is found in the history. You play as a woman named Renee, who during the 1930s was incarcerated in a psychiatric hospital in Volterra, Italy. Renee returns to the now dilapidated hospital to piece together the parts of her lives that were stolen from her. It's a story of vindication and the exploration of mental health stigma. The game is already out on PC, but the Town of Light's Lorenzo Conticelli walked me through the console build with additional features. Conticelli is part of the team that admirably and meticulously recreated this hospital brick by brick in the game. The attention to detail is breathtaking. From every rusted gate to discarded wheelchair that was actually present when Conticelli and their team visited the hospital during the developmental stages of the game. The Town of Light is an amazing and sensitive example of how we can use history in games to frame and explore a topic that's painfully relevant today.